The chiropractor said he thinks I have an obtrusion to the cartilage, but whatever it is, it takes 6 weeks to get better, but aspirin helps. Nothing to worry about. Just don't, I have to roll out of bed now, but you know.
No,
But it's wondrous.
unlockable.
Yeah, I sent you an email, but I think at least a couple errors. We just need to double check.
We had 2 dogs come in to our office. Very friendly. Good dog.
All
Just
right.
random.
Well, looks like it's 5 o'clock, ready to start our study session, so I'm gonna call us to roll. And if you'll call roll,
Sure, Commissioner.
Summer, I would appreciate it.
Commissioner Patterson,
Here.
Commissioner Norwood,
Present.
Commissioner Siragusa,
Here.
Commissioner Roberts,
Here.
Commissioner Stallings,
Here.
Commissioner Orr, and Mayor Mason,
Here.
all present.
All right. Item 5.2 at the Commissioner's request, discuss any item of concern on the regular session agenda. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about?
You needed to bring up 7.3?
Yeah, 7.3 has got at least a couple errors in it. And Jason, I didn't get a chance to talk to you after I talked to you earlier, but I think we just need to pull that one. That's the Highway 81 storage and bring it back next time. Check the canvas against the real bids and come back. So
Yes, sir.
I think that's the best course
Okay.
on that item.
Any other item anybody wants to talk about? No? All right, well, I will tell you that I think our average age has gone down of the entire group today because of the Leadership Greater Enid Youth Program. So I'll move on to 3.1. We'll discuss the role of the municipal government with the Leadership Greater Enid Youth Program. And I think, Scott, you're going to talk about that.
Thank you, Mayor, and welcome, group. I'm Scott Morris. I'm the Assistant City Manager in Enid, and we thought we'd go through and talk a little bit about what it is that we do here and how this form of government works, and then give you plenty of time to ask questions and have some interaction with our mayor and commissioners. And so I'll start us out here. Our form of government is called the council manager form of government, and it starts out with all of the citizens in Enid have an opportunity to vote for commissioners that are in their section of town, and they can vote for the mayor. And so these 7 up here are the only elected officials in municipal government. And they have 4 people that they hire. And this is just a simple slide detailing that they will hire the city manager, and then he will in turn have the rest of the staff of the city under him, and he will be directing and executing the will of this mayor and commission body. I'll get to a later slide. We'll talk about the other 3 of who the council members and the mayor hire. But that's just a generic breakdown of the structure. So let's talk about the mayor. What does the mayor do? He pretty much...
Let me just point out, that's an excellent, great photograph, by the way.
I thought you'd like that one.
I do. Thank you. Go ahead.
So he's the chairperson of this council, and he's got the gavel, right? And so if there's an order that needs to be made, and to make sure that we get through our agenda without a bunch of chaos, we have to have a leader to take care of that. So that's what the mayor does. And he can definitely direct the city manager and other people and let him know, hey, this is the direction that the city wants to go. Gerald, build me this, and Gerald will get it done. He is the face of the city. And Mr. Mayor, you were at an event just today. You probably just almost every day, you're invited to different people's functions to welcome people to our city.
Good.
You attend a lot of Air Force functions and support events, Air Force Base, and you keep a very busy schedule just being the face of the city, doing proclamations, welcoming people. I'm sure I'm not even touching all of the things that you do. You go to birthday parties, you go to recognitions for different people. Holidays that you might want to take your time off and go to the lake. Well, a lot of times the mayor on holidays, he's invited to go do special presentations for different groups, and so it's a lot of work, isn't it?
It is, but it's very rewarding also, so.
And then the mayor has the most zeros at the end of his paycheck than anyone. He makes a lot of money. A lot of money. Matter of fact, is it only zeros?
It's all zero.
It's all zeros. So if you didn't know, the mayor and all of the council members up here, they do not earn any money. They are doing all of this out of volunteer. So they got a nice meal from Jumbo's tonight at 4:30 before this meeting, and that was pretty much their pay for today. So it's a lot of work, and they don't get paid. So the commissioners here, each ward has an elected representative. I have a ward map right here that shows the different areas that they represent. But they're going to create the policy for the community. They're going to be the ones that in the next meeting, right up there's all of those, a green light and a red light. They're going to be voting. Matter of fact, just last month they voted and approved our next year's financial budget. That's one of the biggest things that they do. We spend a lot of time studying it and making sure that every component of what the city needs to operate is in that budget. They approve that, and then the city manager executes that desire and makes sure that all of those things get done. They adopt local laws, so people can come to meetings like this, the next meeting. And this actually happened in this last year. There were someone that had a concern, and a real concern about pot-bellied pigs, and wanted to make some changes in our ordinance about their ability to keep a pet that might have been over the weight limit in our previous ordinance. They changed the ordinance. We can change the local laws, and they can set the really big picture goals. I'll give you an example. When you go to a drinking fountain and get water, you want clean, healthy, safe water to drink. And one of the things that this group has done over the years is set the direction for, we need another source of water. We need to figure out what to do to make us less dependent on the well fields that are drying up. And so we're in the midst of completing about a $350 million project to get fresh water out of Call Lake. And that was all done by the votes of council members and the mayor. And that's one of the big things that they get to do, along with taking phone calls and emails from all kinds of concerned residents over various topics. The mayor had a really good example of one that he read earlier today.
I did.
That's the ward map. So two of the people that the council hires are municipal judges. So hopefully you don't have to see them. But if you are speeding down Van Buren and get a ticket, if you come appear in court, you'll come into this room and see one of those two judges. And people get confused because if you get pulled over by highway patrol, that's not municipal, that's not this courtroom. That's at the county courthouse. But any municipal laws that our police department enforces, those judges will rule on those court cases in this room right here. Hopefully you don't have to see them. And then our city attorney, Carol Lehman, right here, she's hired by the council. She does a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to all of the things that the city does. If we're trying to enter a contract with anyone, she's looking at that. If we're wanting to look at ordinance and maybe consider some changes, she's making sure there's no unintended consequences there. She's helping us make sure we don't have any missteps, and she keeps us all out of jail. So that's very a simplified version of what Carol does. There's a lot more to that. She has a staff. She has a lot of other things that she does. And then our city manager, Gerald Gilbert, he's hired. He's the chief advisor. He executes the plan. He's got the staff, and if you think about all of the things that municipal government is supposed to do, some people get the idea that government has this super big picture of, there's a lot of good ideas out there that municipal government just doesn't get involved in. So the main ones that we do are health and safety, providing water, sewer, police and fire, things like our parks department, economic development, enforcing codes, So a lot of things like that. All of the street safety, building streets, those kinds of things. We can't get involved in a lot of the other things that you might think of, like cable TV or electricity or gas. That's someone else. But that's just kind of a big picture of how this body operates. And I just wanted to leave plenty of time for you guys to ask questions and for you all to make any comments that you'd like for these guys. But I thought we'd play a video that kind of explains some of the challenges and how it feels like managing a city. This is an old commercial that you may have never seen. I think it played on a Super Bowl a long time ago. But here's a little video.
This man right here is my great-grandfather. He's the first cat herder in our family.
Herding cats. Don't let anybody tell you it's easy.
Anybody can herd cattle. Holding together 10,000 half-wild short hairs, well, that's another thing altogether.
Being a cat herder is probably about the toughest thing I think I've ever done.
I got this one this morning, right here, and if you look at his face, it's just ripped to shreds, you know?
You see the movies, you hear the stories, I'm living a dream. Not everyone can do what we do.
I wouldn't do nothing else.
It ain't an easy job, but when you bring a herd into town and you ain't lost a one of them, ain't a feeling like it in the world.
EDS, managing the complexities of the digital economy.
No living being should ever eat processed.
Well, I think we'll open it up now. If you all have any questions, or Mayor, if you'd like to address the group or say anything, we'll just
Well,
open it
let
up.
me just start out by, what questions do y'all have? That was a very quick, and good job, Scott, putting that together, but that was just a quick overview of what it is that we do. What questions do you guys have? It's okay, we ask silly questions all
And
the
go
time.
ahead and come on up
Yeah.
to the podium so we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Delaney Carruthers. I was wondering, at least one of you guys has a family. I don't know about your personal lives, but I would like to know what it's like balancing your work life and your personal life.
Being that I have 2 children, I've got an 8-month-old and a newly to become freshman. They're actually in the mayor's office right now. They come with me. The key part is that they are supportive. They know that there are sacrifices, but they also see the bigger picture of being involved in something like this, and just kind of being an example to them as they grow up. Is that it? Thank you.
I would say your mother is Jessica, right?
Yes.
I went through LGE with her. That was a pleasure, so I just recognized your name. And
Yeah.
I see the resemblance. Say hi for me.
Okay.
Hey, you know, I'll also add to that, I spend between 25 and 30 hours a week doing mayor stuff. And you definitely have to have a family that's pretty supportive. Now, fortunately, all my boys are grown and out of the house. But I don't think it's so much the time commitment as it is what my spouse can read on Facebook sometimes. You know, I remind everyone that, you know, she didn't run for mayor, I did. And that can be very hurtful sometimes. Things that don't really bother me. I'm always good with all my decisions. You know, I try to think through those, and once I've made a decision, I'm good with that. But you're always going to have people that are upset. So I think it's more what I call the keyboard warriors that won't stand up and talk to you or call for a conversation, but they want to, you know, type, right? They're pretty bold. So I think that's more challenging, honestly, than the time commitment for us. So, yeah. What other questions? Or did any of the other commissioners want to remark?
The only other thing I would mention is that most of us, in addition to having to come to this meeting twice a month, we have other committees that we get put on as a result of being city commissioners and have to go to those meetings. So it is a big time. We give a lot of time, and as has been noted, our pay is very, very meager, zero. But we do it because we like it.
Yeah. Every one of the commissioners are a commissioner and have a minimum of 2 other committees that they're on, and some of them have 3. So it's a time commitment. Does someone else want to say something?
Yes, I serve on 7 different boards. The commission is the first one, but I serve with 7 different organizations, and the driving force for me, it's not money, because like they said, we don't get paid, but to see positive change and lives been impacted in a positive way, and been able to come to the mayor or the city manager or talking to my colleagues and making change, it's rewarding. And I'm a small business owner, so I had to make a decision to make less money. And I make a lot less money, but I don't regret it, because I believe that in the future, it all come back to me by making those sacrifices. So it's a sacrifice, but it's something that I really enjoy and I love.
Being fresh off the campaign trail, I can tell you that when you campaign for an office like this, you're really giving up all your time during those, for me it was about 4 months. And you're also putting your reputation out there to be shredded at times by people that don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But it is absolutely worth it if you believe in your community, you believe in your people that are in the community, and you think you can make a difference. And so that's why people get into this.
Okay, I think you had some questions, or a question.
Hello, my name is Avery Ransom, and you guys had kind of talked about the $350 million water job that you have trying to get into place. I was wondering if you had any maybe jobs or bills that have already been put into place, or I don't know how to word it, but projects, that's what I was looking for, that have already been recently finished or also in the works that you're really excited to see come into play in the city.
So if I heard you correctly, are there any projects that we've already completed?
Mm-hmm. Or are just in the works as well?
Oh,
You're really excited to
Lord,
see.
Yes. You just go right out here by the new soccer complex. Now, in Enid, we're very, very fortunate. We do a lot of what's called private-public partnerships. Not every community gets to do that, but because of a lot of the very generous people that we have in our community, if the city does a portion of it, they will take a portion of it. And as a result, I think we get twice what other communities do when they have to just raise money to do that. So the soccer complex is about a $15+ million, am I in that ballpark? Or Scott's saying higher than that. But what you need to understand is that project by itself will bring in, they've already had some 72 team tournaments. So those are, I'm going to say 70 of those teams, 65 of those teams are from out of town. So those are people that are coming to our community that are buying meals, they're buying hotel stays, or they forgot their cleats, or running down to one of the sporting goods and buying more cleats. I mean, on and on and on, of which those are all things that our community benefits from. Plus, we are the trade area for Garfield County, Northwest Oklahoma, and we want to continue that. So that's definitely one of those that we have just completed, right?
The school project on the base.
I'm sorry. Oh, and we are in the process. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And it's on the agenda tonight, the master trail plan.
The Eisenhower Elementary School out on base. That will be a $30 million project. Now you go, well, that's out on base. Why is that up? Well, one, we have a relationship with Vance that we take very, very serious. At some point on old facilities, you can repair them, but you're just throwing good money after bad, right? I mean, there's better materials, there's better, more efficient ways to do things. And that's kind of where we're at. The federal government stepped in and said, hey, if y'all will build a new school, we'll do an 80-20 split, which means they'll take care of 80% and we figure out a way to do the other 20%, which 80% of $30 million is a lot of money. We don't want to leave that, right? And it helps our base. It gives them a new facility. And that's the relationship that we work towards. So that's a project that is early on in the planning stage. You'll hear different comments about, whether it's at a school board meeting, an Enid Public School Board meeting, or here. You're starting to see those pieces come together. And here, I'm going to say over the next 6 to 8 months, that will go to the architects, and they'll spend about $1.2 million doing all that engineering work for that project, and then we'll be ready to kick that off. So projects sometimes take 1, 2, 3 years to get done, but they're massive projects, right? I'm going to say one other that I thought of that was huge is the joint use runway and the facility out at Woodring Airport. A lot of communities have municipal airports. Very few of them get to share it with military base. And Colonel, I don't want to talk out of turn. I mean, you can jump in any time. This is your wheelhouse, but the runways at Vance Air Force Base were getting pretty old and damaged, and they needed to be reworked. But at the end of the year, they have a certain number of pilots they have to turn out no matter what. And I'm pretty sure your boss doesn't care about any excuses, does he? He wants it done. So how could we make that work? Well, we bought land to extend Woodring Airport so that it's an 8,400 foot runway, and extended that runway down. So while they were breaking out the first runway and redoing it out at Vance, they were landing, still doing their sorties, all their flights that they had to get in, and landing at Woodring Airport. And I think they're in the course right now of redoing the other runway. So that being said, it become a joint use facility out there, so that there was DOD money coming in, there was state money coming in, there was city money going into all that to make sure they had the hangars and the aprons and the runways to not miss their number of pilots that they needed to turn out at Vance. And even now, and I'll just back up just a few weeks ago, when we had a lot of storms come through, they were able to move those planes over to Woodring and get those inside of some hangars. Do you realize you don't take a T6 down to the dentless repair shop at Northcutt's to get fixed? It's expensive. And we were able to make sure that a lot of damage didn't happen to those planes, so that they, at the end of the day, they don't miss their number of pilots that they need to turn out every year. So there's 3 that I can think of just right off the bat, and there's more coming. There's lots of good stuff.
And if you need more, this gentleman right here, Morale, and that gentleman in the far back row with the blue shirt on, Jason, those are our engineers for the city. Do you guys have any time other than doing engineer work? You guys even take lunch every day with what you guys got going on? They got a lot of work. They got a list of stuff that they do, and they're pretty fantastic on keeping up with it.
They have 113 projects right now that they're working on. So that's everything from an intersection to roads to water projects. I mean, everything. So yeah, there's a lot of projects going on. You can always tell by community. Go ask the engineers how much work they're working on. And that tells you how much work's going on in a community. So more than you wanted to know.
We have the master trail plan, which
We
also,
did.
it's been going on for a very long time, and it's on the agenda tonight. So, all of those nice trails that, I don't know if you guys use them, but
So you notice
the
that
city.
the trails that go sporadically kind of around the city, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of concrete to do. At one time, we were able to get some grant money from ODOT, the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. When the state kind of got a little financial, I'm not going to say trouble, but it was a tighter budget, those things stop, right? So there for a while that happened. But because of the relationship that our engineers have built with our Oklahoma Department of Transportation folks, we applied for 2 new sections of trails. We got 1, and then some other communities didn't take all their money. They were not in place to be able to do the 80-20 funding. We were, and they come back and said, hey, we've got more money if you want it. And so now then, tonight, what you're gonna see on this is we're gonna pass our portion of that to add, how long will that be?
I don't know how long it is, but it's about $1.4
$1,400,000,
million.
and it'll run all the way out to the front gate of the base. So those projects just keep going. And I will just speak for the whole group here, and probably shouldn't, but all those things that we vote on, we do it so it benefits a lot of people, right? A lot of people I see going up and down those trails. And as we connect those, I think it will get better and better and better.
And it's just not us here, and it's just not the city manager. The city manager has a lot of people under him that work for the city. It's like I said, we got Morale and Jason that do the engineering. So Steve's over in the back over there. He's our grant writer. He's probably the reason why we got the more money, because they loved the way he presented the first one to them, and they were like, hey, by the way, we got more money. Came back to him and told him, and he was like, not a problem. Erin, the way that she runs our finance, she's our chief financial officer. She's got skills that are phenomenal when it comes to money. So running the city just isn't the mayor.
No.
It isn't the council people. It's everybody that works for the city and are in those positions that really put forth the effort. I know he's supposed to be the ringleader, but sometimes he gets told by his managers and stuff that that's not going to work. We need this. And that's when he has to say, hey, you guys, I need this extra. And then we go to Erin, can we afford it? And that's the big thing is, and we have to stay within our grounds. Or otherwise we'll be like other cities and we won't have any money. We'll be like the state and go into financial disaster at one point. Everybody says, oh, the state has all this extra money now. The reason why is because they were fiscally responsible. And it's always nice to have a little extra money in a rainy day fund, because we never know when a major line is going to get hit and we have to repair it like quickly, because otherwise half the city don't have water. $150,000 in one hit in one night.
Thank you.
Did we answer your question?
Yes, thank
And then
you.
some? Yeah. Yes, sir. Come on up.
My name is Tatum Keegan, and my question is, as leaders of this community, have you experienced burnout? And if so, how did you deal with it?
There's been times that I've had sleepless nights because I've taken this position to heart, and it was a little stressful at times, especially when we're dealing with issues that we know more about what's actually going on internally than the public does and what they see externally, and we're under attack, and you gain thick skin in this position, and it makes you to a point where you have to band together. I mean, we're like family. Sometimes we do things, together outside of work. This is work, and yes, there are times where I've never felt like just giving up and saying, "Oh no, I'm done with it." No, If I feel that way, I feel like I shouldn't be in this position. But being in this position, like I said, I've lost sleep different times, and I've also gained friends, and I've lost who I thought were my friends, you know, at times because of decisions I've made and things that I've done. But I've learned you have to follow your heart. You know, you can't let people dictate and cause you to doubt yourself. You have to follow your heart, and it keeps me prayerful, this position. It really does, because I care about this community and the future of this community, and I like everyone that I'm working with, and they make our job easy. We help one another, you know, because we have to live life. We have regular lives just like you do. It's just that it's challenging at times.
Is your dad Tatum Sr.?
He sure is. That is him.
Wow, he is a great leader for us. The city of Enid runs the landfill. And I don't know any of you, but as you come up here and tell me who you are, I've connected with two
He
of
said
our-
you guys were probably going to recognize me if I said my name. So.
He's pretty sharp. He does a great job for us. He runs the landfill. So when you guys throw stuff away, think about that. It doesn't just magically go away. It goes in your poly cart. We pick it up. We dump it. You know all the stories, right?
Oh yeah. If you call it a dump, he gets really mad.
Right.
Anybody else want to address his question, or anybody?
Well, thank you guys.
You bet. Thank you.
My name is Luke Lohman, and she kind of mentioned it earlier, but I just wanted to know, since you're all elected, well, most of you are elected positions, what's it like running for office, and how long does your campaign process usually take, even if it's just viewed as a smaller elected office?
Well, yeah, it's terrifying. I don't mind telling you. It's, you know, it's probably about 4 months, 5 months, depending. It depends if a position opens up, like Commissioner Patterson. I know, I was thinking ahead. Commissioner Patterson's, or if that seat's coming vacant and you intend to run for it. So it's 4 or 5 months. You know, in this day and age, it takes $7,000 to $8,000 to put a campaign together, even at this level. It takes 7 days a week. You have to knock on doors in your ward, or if you're mayor of the entire city. And let me tell you, I've sent 3 kids through OSU and 1 through OU, and I think the best experience they've ever had is knocking on a door, you know, because people have very, they have opinions, and they don't mind telling you that, right? But I'll go back to what Commissioner Norwood said. Everything we do, we have a lot of information that we've already studied. If you look right up there, you see the blue portion right underneath the 3.1. It says presentation. As you go through every item tonight, there will be a whole backstory of what we're talking about and data that if we've done our homework, which we should have, each one of us, you should know what's going on each one of those items, or each one of the commissioners. So, and that varies, but I'm going to say each 2 weeks, every meeting that we have, there's anywhere from 150 to 300 pages of information we go through. So when someone goes, I just think you did wrong by picking that, I always ask them, what would you base your information on? Where'd that come from? Right? Because I studied it pretty hard. And so many times they're wrapped up in emotion, which we just cannot do that. So when you get on the doorstep, you get a lot of that. And that's tough sometimes, but you know, you just be honest with people. Just tell them, this is why I'm running, this is how I believe, this is what I'll do. And then stick to that, right? So, never lie. You know, they may not like what you tell them, but never lie to anybody.
Never lie.
And,
we'll catch up.
yeah, it'll catch up with you. So, yeah, campaigns are tough. You really have to put yourself out there and I think Commissioner Patterson made a statement a while ago, you know, in this day and age, people feel like they can just shred your integrity on non-information because they choose to, right? Had a guy tell me one time that if I didn't vote this certain way on the library, that I hated children. I'm going, wait a minute. You can't draw those two conclusions, right? So, anyway, it can be tough. You really have to put yourself out there. But you know what? It's one of the best things I've ever done also. You make a pretty quick impact being a commissioner. We can vote on something tonight and 30 days from now, or shorter than that if we do an emergency order, it can be in place. So it makes a big difference. So I love it. I like to campaign. I always have. So, you know. Anybody else? I mean,
I would say out there on the, my experience being on the campaign trail, I got a chance to meet a lot of people and learned a lot of things I might not want to know, you know, personal things, but I just listened. I learned in this position how to become a listener because sometimes people don't really want your input. They just want to be heard. And that's something that I really learned. I sat down with a lot of people. A lot of people invited me in their houses, and you know, it was hot outside, and they gave me cold water to drink, and I met a lot of people. I know my ward inside out because I walked every street in my ward, and I almost knocked on every door. I knocked on over 3,000 doors in my ward, but the gratification in it was just meeting the people and finding out exactly what they wanted. And I'm gonna tell you, most of the people wanted the same thing. You know, dealing with their trash, good streets, quality of life, entertainment for our children, for our youth, like you all, and potential jobs in the future. These are the things that people talk to me about. Are you all gonna have, you know, companies come into Enid to be able to help our youth and keep our youth here in Enid? And that's something that our mayor and this city council is really working hard on, is to prepare a bright future for you all here in Enid so that you can stay here at home. So those are the things that I experienced while I was out on the campaign trail. And I had a runoff. So mine went a little bit longer than 5 months. It was about 7 months. But I enjoyed every bit of it.
Anybody else? Okay.
Hello, my name's Sophia Falk, and I was curious why you wanted to run for mayor.
Oh, why I wanted to run for
Yeah.
mayor? Well, I've asked myself that several times since I won, but you know, I was fortunate enough to be Ward 6 commissioner for 2 years, and I loved every minute of it. I don't mind telling you. I'll go back to what I said just a while ago. It's a quick impact. The things that we do happen very, very quickly. And since I've become mayor, I've met a lot of other mayors around the state. I'm leaving to go next week. I'll go to a mayor's conference. And all those mayors I've met, we start having conversations. You know, so they'll call and they'll go, hey, how'd y'all fund that $350 million project up there? And because they don't know. I mean, they don't know. They've never done that. We had never done that much before until then. So even though I live in Enid, the 8th or 9th, if you look on Google, we're the 9th largest community. If you ask me, we're the 8th largest community, right? I'm kind of like a preacher. It depends who you talk to on how many people were at church. But that being said, you can have a lot of influence. Not that I'm looking to have influence, but we get to help other communities, not just Enid. Did you know that water project? We currently serve water to, it's either 7 or 8 other communities. They get water because Enid has water, because they can't go do a $350 million project. You know, and it was a step for us. I don't mind telling you, I don't want to make it look easy, but that was a step, and we'll pay for that for a lot of years. But we had no choice but to do that. So I like being a part of that. And all the events that Scott was talking about a while ago, I love that. Today was the Main Street directors from all over the state. I get to tell them what we do in Enid and why it's important. And I've loved every minute of it. So I don't know if that answers your question. I think it was a lot of things that made me want to run for Enid, or running for mayor in Enid. And I think we are just on the cusp of really taking off and growing. We have been putting pieces into place over the last year. And I know each one of those pieces people don't really pay attention to, but buying large amounts of land for an industrial park, applying for ARPA money and getting almost $16 million put in the water and sewer for that, looking at a brand new youth sports facility that's going to bring in hundreds and hundreds of teams. All those things are investments that we're making in our community. And when we do that, and when hiring a new economic development director also, she's going to come in one day and she's going to hit a home run. And when that happens, we're going to have to be ready to go. I know that doesn't mean a lot to you, but you're going to see growth in Enid. And I'll leave you with this. In communities, you're never stagnant. You never just stop. If you're not moving forward, you're going to lose folks because they get old. They go live with their kids. They die. All that kind of stuff. We have to grow or we will be backing up, and we cannot do that. So I wanted to be a part of that.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, my name is Aspen Kang, and I have two questions. One was, what are the particular projects that you are doing that pertain to entertainment for the youth? And then, what do you do if a project is losing you money? What do you do to solve that?
Wow.
So what
Someone
she
put
just
you
asked-
up to those questions.
What she just asked is, are we getting a movie theater?
Yeah, I know what that first one was directed at. So, movie theater, right? It's interesting, and anybody can chime in here. It doesn't just have to mean me. It's interesting that we have a community of 52,000 people in our surrounding area. I used to say 125,000. We've just recently had another study. We're up to about 145,000 trade area right now. And we don't have a movie theater. I mean, that is bizarre, right? But everybody knows the story. We had an old one in the mall. Nobody wants to be in a mall anymore, right? I mean, that whole economic business model is changing. It was also owned by a large chain that went bankrupt. So what they did, they closed all their small, low-producing theaters. They kept all the ones in Oklahoma City, Dallas, all that kind of stuff. So we ended up, being the size town we are, without a movie theater for that reason, right? So we started out before COVID, and when I was Ward 6 commissioner, we started out and we worked and we worked and we worked to find somebody that would come to Enid and put in a movie theater. Almost got there, and COVID hit. You remember? They shut down everything, which, unlike a restaurant with a movie theater, you can't have a drive-through, right? I mean, it's all or nothing. Well, the person that we had worked with had 6 other locations, about lost his shirt because he had to be shut down for, year and a half, however long it was, full year, with no income. So we had to start completely back to zero. Now, these movie theaters that everybody wants, they're not the old downtown one screen, I'll put it up for $50,000 and we'll be showing movies a month from now. It's not like that. These are brand new facilities that have 8, 9, 10 screens. There's a reason why they have that many screens. I won't go into all that detail, but they want other amenities. They want trampoline parks. They want everything. Well, guess what? That runs up to about $20 million, right? So that's a big step for anybody to bite off. And we had worked and worked and worked and worked with a group out there, and thought we were this close. It doesn't look like they're gonna be able to come with all their funding on that project. And at some point, the city has to go, you know what, we're not gonna be the biggest partner in this. We understand the concept that we have to bring money to the table sometime to get, I wish we lived in a world where people go, oh, I just wanna come to Enid, no matter what it costs. But we live in a very, very competitive environment where if we don't provide incentives, another community will, and they will go somewhere else. Well, we just got to the point we felt like we had given and given and given. And so we have all but backed out of that deal and said, we just can't, we're not gonna be the largest partner in this. We want you to have a lot more skin in this than we do, right? However, I will tell you that other opportunities have come along that we are early on that involve a movie theater, and so we're excited about that. And the city's gonna find some way to get a movie theater done. I'm not exactly sure, but we're not opposed to it. We keep coming to the table. We just can't get anybody that shows up with a checkbook.
You need to hit the mayor up after the meeting. What he didn't tell you is he used to be in the movie theater business, so maybe he can help us put together a deal. Mayor?
Anyway, your second question was, what was your second?
If
What
you're,
happens-
What else?
Oh.
What else?
I'm sorry.
What else for young people?
If you're losing money from a project, what do you do to come back from it?
Oh, on a losing project.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes. And let me tell you kind of where we're at on some of that. And the best example I'm going to give you is the Stride Bank Center. We knew the Stride Bank Center would never cash flow. It is not an entity that's going to be a moneymaker for the city. But one thing that cities have to do that private business, or that one thing that cities can do that private business cannot do is we have to look at a standard of life. Okay, so if you back way up, when we go out and our economic development director goes to try to recruit a company to come to Enid, Oklahoma, and they've got 50 employees, 100 employees, 200 employees, whatever that happens to be, the first thing that CEO is going to ask is, what is there to do in Enid? Right? Oh, well, we've got David Allen Ballpark. I don't play baseball. Well, we've got soccer. Well, we don't have that. So sometimes we have to take on projects like the Stride Center to have concerts and big events that do not cash flow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we figure that into our budget, and we know how much we feel comfortable with, because when those people come into a concert, they also stay at our hotels, and they eat at our restaurants, and they on and on and on, of which we make sales tax dollars off of, and that helps offset part of that subsidy that we do, that we provide to keep Stride open. Now, what has hurt us over the last few years, I'll go all the way back to COVID, and if you looked at it, and if I had it up there on a screen, on a spreadsheet, you can draw a line right there on COVID. We were down to, I think at one time we were at $263,000 a year. We were supplementing that right before COVID, which we think our break-even point is $300,000 that we'd feel comfortable with. For whatever reason, people have not come back to concerts and to some of those events like they had in the past. Don't know why. I don't know if it's people are struggling on income more than what we realize, but this past year we subsidized that over $700,000. Now that's getting up there around that point where you're kind of going, wow, that's a lot of money, and we need it. You know, we need that facility for our standard of life because we recruit people to come to Enid. That's with parks and swimming pools and ballparks, Stride Center, concerts, all those type of things. So we can't just board it up, but we would sure like to see that change a little bit to where it carries more of its weight. This year, we changed a lot of the stuff on that contract. Not as many concerts. You're not gonna see near as many concerts because that's a losing deal right now. A year from now, if we see that differently, we'll change that up. But we're re-looking at that pretty hard, but we're gonna continue to do that. So that's one example. You know, parks never make any money. You know, we always talk about that. We mow the grass, we build the play sets, we do all that stuff. You're never gonna make any money. That's a lifestyle that we wanna have in Enid. We wanna have somewhere that our kids can go and that it's safe and beautiful. So cities don't try to generate and make a profit. They try to generate income to reinvest so that the citizens can enjoy those items, if that makes sense. So, yeah, there's some projects out there that are getting pretty costly that are gonna have to change a little bit, but I think we can see the future on that. I think that will change. People will go back to concerts eventually. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Kinda, sorta?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jay, I think we need to give out a homework assignment here for these young leaders. Why don't you have them brainstorm what kind of events they would be supportive of with their money or their parents to buy tickets to, or sport activities? Give us some ideas that we can pass on to our third-party managers. I bet we get some good ideas from them.
Yeah, we'll have to put a list together, we'll send it over to you.
Thank you.
I saw some eyebrows go up. He didn't mean you guys pay for the bands to come. He just meant you buy the ticket to get in to see the band.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you have a question?
My name is Jacob Hassler, and you guys as leaders are always working to grow and better Enid. My question is, what advice would you have for the youth who are going to be stepping up later, or just the youth in general?
I'll jump out there and just say, number one, believe in yourself. You've got to have confidence in yourself. I know you all do, because I feel like a principal. You come up here and tell me who you are, and I think, I know your parents. You all come from good families that are leaders. You are leaders in your own right. So learn, critically think. People are going to tell you stuff. I might tell you something. Somebody else tell you something. You got to evaluate for yourself. You can't just take for granted what Facebook tells you, because Facebook's not always right. The newspaper's not always right. I'm not always right sometimes. So be critical thinkers, believe in yourself, and I'm feeling very encouraged looking at the future right here on the front row. That's my advice to you, and I'm sure there's more from the group here.
All right, thank you.
I'd like to say to you, just to kind of back in what the city manager, Gerald, was saying, don't believe everything you hear about someone else. And also, try not to be selfish. Consider others, and sometimes put others before you, and it'll come back to you.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to also say, step out there and get involved. How old do you have to be on the city council?
18.
Girls at 18 or 21?
I think it might be 25.
25.
So be thinking about that in your future, because you do make a difference. And so be thinking about those local positions that you can play a part in, and don't be afraid to step out there. We're just all normal, regular people, just like you, so.
Like I told my daughter, she's starting to get into politics, that obviously stay involved, get involved. That was one of my advice, but also to never stop learning. Just to, doesn't even have to be a formal education, just seek out knowledge for yourself. So that when you're prepared, you know what you're talking about. You can make an informed decision on things, and you can advance whatever viewpoint that you have.
It's like your group leadership. That means to lead and not to follow. It means to step up to the plate, be that leader. But remember, with being that leader, you're taking that responsibility for everybody that's following you. you got to be able to take the criticism when you lead the wrong way. And, you know, some people take it real personally. Some people don't get their way. They want to, you know, pout, go talk bad about you. Don't let it bring you down. You got to still be that leader. You got to walk forward and you got to move on.
I'm gonna say three things. Three things I would encourage. Number one is don't take anybody's word on what they tell you or what they write. Most of that's wrong. Get the correct information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number two is to get involved in everything. And number three is be bold. Don't be afraid to open your mouth. You realize anyone, I'll be honest, I thought we might have 2 questions out of this deal. We've darn near gone down the whole list, which is wonderful. But don't be afraid to stand up and say, hey, explain something to me. Each one of y'all are citizens of Enid, Oklahoma. You have as much right as your parents do to pick up the phone, call one of us, or shoot us an email and ask us why we voted the way that we did. Or if a topic's coming up and you have an opinion on that, call us and ask us what we're thinking about that. You have as much right to be in the know as anybody else, but you've got to take that opportunity. Don't just fall in behind the people that just write stuff and you go, oh my God, that must be true. There's a lot of stuff out there that's not correct. Not correct. Okay? Anybody else?
I would say that you should also not be scared of doing something and failing. Sometimes you learn from your failures. Winston Churchill is a good example. The years after World War I, and then he stayed in the game as a backbencher, and then he, you know, helped his country. So sometimes you can learn more from failing than winning, and it'll give you the experience you need later. And lots of you will probably have lots of different jobs. So enjoy each one.
Thank you all.
Well, you're welcome.
Got a couple more people.
Anybody else? Now's your chance.
Is there any bashful people? I think everybody but about 2 have asked questions. It's your turn. Remember, you just got advice. Speak up.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to go after the peer pressure that the city manager is. You can be a leader and say, you know what? I got my answer that I wanted. I don't have any questions, thanks to everybody else that was in my leadership group.
Well, I tell you what, we'll conclude that. Thank y'all so much for being here. I got to tell you, it did more for us than it did you, right? To have that opportunity to answer questions and talk. So I am more encouraged right now than I was an hour ago. So just be bold. We've got good folks right here that are just future leaders, but don't be afraid to take those positions. See opportunity whenever it comes along. So thank y'all for being here, and don't be shy. Come back anytime. Commissioner? Did you have a thought?
I'm okay.
Okay. All right, with that being said, thank you guys, we appreciate it.
Remember the homework assignment. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you all. So I am going to jump down to 3.3, discuss TSET, the Tobacco Settlement Endorsement Trust grant opportunities. So, ladies, you got a big step to go get past what those kids did. They were good, weren't they?
They were very good.
Yeah.
I'm Stephanie Pendergraft. This is Kate Ladwig, and then where'd she go? She's somewhere. Brandy Heiss. We are the TSET Healthy Living Program at Rural Health Projects. So we are here to talk to you. Oh, perfect. Okay. About, first of all, this is kind of a slide to let you know. So our program, we work within the community with cities and governments, schools, other organizations on preventing and reducing tobacco use and obesity, mostly through policy work and then implementation of those policies. The Healthy Incentive Grant piece is separate from that, and that is working with cities to implement these best practices, basically, for tobacco-free living, increasing access to healthy foods and then physical activity opportunities. So this might be a little bit hard to see, but so we put together a profile on the city of Enid's population on the smoking prevalence. From 2018 to 2021, it has decreased, which is great. Based on our 2020 population, and the 2020 smoking prevalence was 20.2%. We kind of took that over to the city of Enid employee side. This will come into play a little bit later, but with full-time employees of 503, and then taking that 20.2% smoking rate. If you look down at the bottom, the total healthcare and lost productivity costs per year, $587,416. So that's going to come into play as you look more towards the higher levels of funding with TSET. It gets into worksite wellness and trying to reduce tobacco use and then increase physical activity and nutrition. So reasons to enact change, first and foremost, would be the health of our community. We know that cardiovascular disease and cancer are the leading causes of death in Oklahoma. So by making these changes and ordinances, we can help to reduce the leading risk factors, which is tobacco use and obesity. And then as our smoking prevalence is declining, which is great, as I said, making city-owned property tobacco and vape free will help reduce secondhand exposure, and then also control litter when we're talking about those new projects, like a great new ballpark or facility upgrades, any type of new construction. We are not trying to infringe upon anyone's rights. We know that smokers are going to smoke. We realize that. We're not, negating that, but we can try and control when they do that on city property. I think it's important to remember that 4 times the amount of smokers that we have in the community, we have non-smokers. And we need to do what we can to protect the majority's health. I'm sure we've all walked through a cloud of smoke somewhere, or have held our breath as we're walking past because, as a non-smoker, I don't want to smell the smoke personally. Societal norms start with change. Change is only temporary until it becomes a norm, and then at that point it's accepted with usually little to no question. Thinking back to smoking in airplanes and smoking in restaurants, that's almost hard to fathom at this point that was a thing. So also, being the hub of Northwest Oklahoma, particularly for healthcare, we have an opportunity to set the standard. Rather than waiting for others to make the change, we should be the leaders. That leads into future funding opportunities. So making these ordinance and policy changes will open the door for this TSET healthy incentive grants for communities, which is up to $150,000 for Enid, as well as possible other funding sources. So this is a map of the grants that have been awarded across the state, just so you can kind of see what that looks like. But in Garfield County, the town of Lahoma was awarded bronze and silver level. That'll be explained here in just a minute, in 2022. And then just to give some comparable cities by population as far as the classifications for funding, Moore was awarded bronze level in 2013, and Lawton was awarded bronze level in 2012, and then they reapplied and they were awarded silver and gold level in 2014. So across the state, there's 149 communities participating and almost $5 million awarded since 2012. So this is what the funding is based upon. So adopting that 100% tobacco-free ordinance is the biggest piece. Promoting the tobacco helpline and Shape Your Future website, which is about physical activity and nutrition. And then developing, strengthening, and implementing a worksite wellness policy, community actions that support that, and then the population size. So as you can see, Enid is in the large category. So for bronze level, $30,000, silver level, $45,000, and gold, $75,000. Those can be applied for incrementally or all at once if you meet the criteria for gold, which would be a maximum of $150,000. So steps for applying for that. First and foremost would be the tobacco-free ordinance, which is the biggest piece of this puzzle. And then reviewing the minimum criteria checklist, which will be on the next slide. And then from there, reviewing the criteria under each funding level, and then apply for funding. So this is very hard to read, but Kate put our presentation together. There are hyperlinks in all of this, so to be able to access this digitally, we also put together packets that have all the information on paper as well. Again, that key criteria is the tobacco-free city-owned property, and then from there, we have a slide for reviewing your current ordinance. We also saw that there's one pending, so we added that here. And then we have the sample ordinance, which could be just taken and input the city's information in there and just taken for what it is, or you can edit it, to fit the community. It's just certain criteria has to be met in order for it to be able to apply for funding. So bronze level, again, $30,000. This is the list of criteria. Don't expect you to be able to read that, but again, it's hyperlinked in here. For silver level, must meet all of bronze level and then the silver level criteria, and that would be $45,000. Bronze and silver together would be $75,000. And then gold level, you have to meet bronze and silver, and then the gold, which would be $75,000. And if all of those were together, it'd be $150,000. So this is just quick links to the incentive grant information application, the current tobacco ordinance, that sample ordinance. There's also the list of cities where you can read everyone that was funded, and then worksite cessation toolkit. And that's it. This is our contact information. So do you have any questions?
Questions?
I think one of the first things that you've shown us and given us information and talked to us individually, I appreciate that. To move towards any level, but let's just say bronze, part of that is the ordinance that we did enact. I don't know how long ago it was. You've looked at that, and that didn't quite meet the muster, right? Because it has to be
100% indoor-outdoor property. And I mean, just to my knowledge of this, I do have family members that smoke. Generally speaking, they're not angry about not being able to smoke in a park or, at a ball field or anywhere, that other people are. They're not trying to be a nuisance to other people, so I don't feel like that's necessarily the hang-up. I think that we should make these changes so that our community can be healthier. Also, I mean, if we're looking at this big sports complex, which hopefully happens, then that would be a great way to start with a tobacco-free property.
Well, these grants are a significant amount of money, from $30,000 to $150,000. Whatever the council decides or wants to do moving forward, we're also going to be interested in. You've heard about our big ballpark that's in the initial early stages. We're just trying to do some engineering and on a potential site to verify some things, but we're going to need to be beating the bushes for money. And I think besides this, I think you've mentioned and kind of dangled a carrot, or at least I perceived it that way, that TSET may have other money that we could ask for if we meet all this criteria with a specific project, but that's a different thing outside of these grants.
There's one called a discovery grant. I can't think of definitions to explain that, and a built environment grant. Those are larger grants as well, but those are potential that could be applied for.
Well, that's encouraging, because I'm guessing the TSET endowment fund probably has more money than maybe the state of Oklahoma has in their rainy day fund. So we might be asking. Depends on what the commission directs us to do.
We're happy to help however we can.
So I know I've talked to y'all separately, and what would be the next step if we wanted to move forward? What would be the next step that we would need to do or look at?
The next step really would be getting that ordinance ready, which I can help. I mean, help with Carol, whatever that looks like. To then pass that from there, like I said, there's that minimum criteria. I wonder if I can go back. Click that. I don't remember how to do this. Let me try it. Oh, I did figure it out. Maybe. Okay. Where was that slide? So next one? No, this one. So there's, the very first thing on this list is just a signature basically stating more or less that the city will not take tobacco money from tobacco companies. Once you've, had this ordinance in place, you're not going to receive money from the tobacco industry. Then the other two things are promoting the tobacco helpline. That's super simple. I mean, promoting it wherever, social media, all different methods of doing that, posting tear strips and, public spaces. And then the Shape Your Future website, same thing, that's promotion of that. So that's just the minimum criteria. I can't really read that enough, but with bronze level, it's establishing, which I would say that this probably already exists, but a worksite wellness champion. And then, okay. Let's see. So yes, city has a workplace wellness champion team or committee. And then city supports the tobacco ordinance and assesses employee health promoting policies, programs, and activities. Also then a youth access to tobacco ordinance, which you already have partially. There's just some missing pieces to that. So we would just need to look at that, which is about, youth being able to purchase tobacco. And then city has completed a community assessment of the food retail environment, which we have a lot of this information, so we can definitely help with that. And then city has assessed the community landscape as it relates to active living. We just did that downtown. Scott was there, so check. So those are for bronze level. That's what you're looking at. Obviously, things are going to be stronger as you go further into the funding. When you get to the gold level, it's much more into the implementation part of these policies that you're putting in place. Also, we can help with signage. So once we do the policy, if you need help with signage from our budget, separately from that, we could help with signage too.
I have a question. If we went smoke-free on public facilities, could somebody go to their personal car and smoke in the car?
As long as it wasn't on the public property, like whatever's considered city-owned property, then
They'd have to drive off the
we
property.
are not controlling their vehicle by any means.
Okay.
Also, should be noted that this is managed and policed however you all determine that what that's going to look like within the ordinance as well.
So is this just tobacco only, or
It's tobacco and vape, e-cigarettes, anything.
marijuana as well? Or?
So TSET does, you could put that language in there if you wanted to. TSET hasn't, and I don't know if they ever will, gone into that sector, but you certainly could add that.
Other questions? Well, I personally think it's something we need to look at moving forward with. I think this is just money that's laying there for us, and I think it's a good health issue. So, why don't we,
We could take a look at a future study session to
Okay.
bring a possible ordinance that might meet the criteria to focus on trying to hit the bronze level.
Sure. And we
Start there.
made these packets, which I was going to give one to Carol, but there are checklists in here of the minimum things that need to be met, and it will show what is met so far on that ordinance, and what needs to be added too. So.
And I've got a binder that you gave me.
Yes, you have
Happy
all
to
that information
bequeath
too.
to Carol.
Folders for right. Anybody else that wants them, we have folders prepared, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Well, ladies, thank y'all so much. We appreciate it.
For
and,
allowing us to come.
We'll be
Appreciate it.
getting with you on it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Well,
We can pick it up in the regular meeting.
that's what I think, yeah. That being said, I think we're gonna adjourn and we'll pick back up at 6:30. And,
Did we cover 3.2?
I'm gonna come back to it during the agenda. So, you didn't think I knew my numbers, did you? So, all right, that being said, we're adjourned until 6:30.